Let me start with you, Ms. Stanford. You are the chief facility watchdog, as I understand it, for Arkansas. And obviously, in addition to the lack of care, we found acute harms like physical, sexual, verbal abuse, and unacceptable living conditions. And taxpayers, as I've said, are paying for a significant amount of these harms, sometimes over $1,000 per day with Medicaid and child welfare dollars. And to me, these daily sums create an incentive for providers to admit as many kids as they can and then keep costs low to maximize their profits. So I want to start with you because you're an expert in the field so that we can take a look at what American taxpayers are actually paying for. So my first question to you is, since you've been working in this field for some time, have you seen the kind of abuse and neglect like the type of accounts documented on our report?
Yes, I would say we see lots of abuse and neglect. Things are reported to us almost daily. Different instances of abuse and neglect. They range in how they can, but kids are being raped. They're being raped by peers and by staff members. There's lots of abuse that's related to restraints, but just other abuse also for staff that are untrained and tasked with watching lots of children. They're failing to learn de-escalation techniques to be able to create a safe environment. But I would say it's very widespread that we see instances of abuse and neglect in the way of failure to prevent violence among peers.
So would it be fair to say that serious problems at these facilities are not isolated incidents?
Yes, that'd be very fair to say.
Now, you did some work in prisons, as I understand it. How would you say these facilities compare to jails?
So I would say in comparison to jails, they're treated very similar. The kids, it's very rigid rules. They don't have a lot of access to the outside world, to calls to contact their family. They're cut off. They don't have a lot of personal belongings. They're very drab facilities that are very comparable to jail settings in many instances.
Okay. So, Ms. Laren, over at the GAO, our important agency that looks into these kinds of abuses, you've been looking into these issues for quite some time, I think something like 15 years or some such period. Have you identified similar types of issues in your reports to what we're talking about today?
Yes, absolutely. Starting back in 2008, where we identified literally thousands of instances of abuse, and up to our most recent report in 2022, we found this is a pervasive issue that continues today.
All right, let me go back to you, Ms. Stanford, and ask you about one facility, the Piney Ridge Treatment Center in Arkansas. We reviewed countless reports from this facility, and as I understand it, you have seen it firsthand. The documents and the public reports that our investigative team reviewed are just horrifying. One report found the facility conducted 110 restraints and seclusions in a 30-day period. Another found that the facility regularly physically restrained children, injected them with drugs, placed them in seclusion in violation of federal rules. And the list, based on what we're picking up, goes on and on with endless failures there. And as is so often the case, some facilities seem to be doing a decent job. Others are just horrendous. So my question to you is the Piney Ridge Treatment Center an outlier? I'd like to know your thoughts on this, and can you give us an idea of the scope and prevalence of the kind of violations that I've been discussing?
I would say that they are not an outlier. Certainly there are better and worse facilities and ones that we get more complaints from than others. The conditions at Piney Ridge Treatment Center several years ago were absolutely appalling. And they were operating Acadia with full knowledge of Acadia Healthcare. And now they have improved recently, but it took years and years of sustained pressure and pressure that had to come from outside. That was not going to come inside from Acadia executives to improve that facility. But we see that at lots of other places.
I'm over my time, and we'll have some questions for you in a bit, Ms. Manley. Senator Crapo.